All right. Hello, everyone, and happy Thursday. Excited to be sitting alongside here Jeff Pricher from Scappoose Fire. Jeff, how you doing today?
Wonderful. So thankful to be here with you today.
I was saying before the call, but you have one of the most legendary backgrounds with surfboards, Hawaii flag, fire relics. Just missing a drone back there.
Yeah. Yep, definitely missing the drone, but gotta give my homage to where I grew up in Hawaii.
Love it. Well, so we've been talking drones for a couple years now, and there's been quite the evolution of perception of drones of why are they here? What's the point of them? But now drones are becoming not just something of a nice to have, they're becoming almost a must have. But with that is becoming an evolution of how are they being used, why are they being used, and most importantly, responsibly being used. And with that comes training, education, and you've been a major pioneer in leading all this, along with Coit Kessler and many of the other members, part of the IAFC working group. But I'm really excited today to talk about the National Fire Academy classes, NFA A450, Basic Remote Pilot, and NFA S373, Incident Operations. Just lay it on me, Jeff. What are those classes, and why do they exist now, and kind of give me a high level overview of those classes.
Yeah, sure. First and foremost, I want to make sure we give a shout out to the Technology Council, Jeff Doolin, and the whole crew that is focused on UAS from the Technology Council side, and then also a shout out to the IAFC crew that is involved with the National Wildfire Coordination Group, because between the two groups, that's how and why we're going to be talking about these two classes. Um, Specifically, the first class A450 Basic Remote Pilot is kind of an expansion of what somebody would expect for public safety UAS operators. In the fire service, we have many different certifications and classes other than, hey, I'm interested in the fire service and I want to know how to use a fire extinguisher. We have a lot of training that goes behind that. And the basic remote pilot takes off from where the FAA Part 107 commercial pilot certificate uh, fails or stops, and then we go beyond that to introduce folks to the significance of the aviation community, aviation thought processes, and then create a foundation for nomenclature, uh, for all the things that we need to do when we're in the national airspace, because it's a lot different than how we operate vehicles on the ground and everything else we do in normal life. So the basic remote pilot encompasses all of that, and really gives somebody a solid foundation to move on to the second component of the training, which is S373, or short for incident operations. And incident operations is all about understanding mission planning for UAS, the intricacies of all the different components of airspace, the complexities of the airspace. How are you going to be successful in completing your mission? Understanding how to complete the waivers for the FAA, and then the one area that is very unique to UAS is how to communicate with manned aircraft when we're operating unmanned aircraft, and that the sharing of the two spaces is probably one of the most difficult environments to navigate. And that course, which was developed by our partners with the federal land management agencies who have years of experience in aviation in complex airspace, designed a way about 7 years ago how to operate efficiently, but doing so in a way in which we're continuing to build that trust climate with the manned aviation community, which in some instances or some thought processes, they think we're still operating toys. So hopefully I answered your question.
Yeah, and I know that was we had the virtual event we did the other, I think it was a year ago, with NASA, focused on the ASRS Aviation Safety Reporting System, where there's already this whole reporting system that's been fostered with airplanes and fixed wing manned airplanes. And now it's sort of like, well, why reinvent the wheel if we want to continue to elevate this level of safety? And this kind of ties into, if we're going to have this, if these aren't just toys, these are very much tools that should be treated no different than how we're operating from a safety perspective, like we are with aircrafts. The ASRS program, similar to like the NFA training program, it's, I guess, objectively from the outside, sort of elevating the level of safety perception of drones and UAS within public safety.
Yeah, 100%. And this all does come back to safety. And what's comforting about these classes and the mindfulness of the U.S. Fire Administration, who really got behind this project, in addition to the National Fire Academy, is the fire service is really expanding into uncharted territory, because for many years we were focused on land-based firefighting and operations. And when you move into this new realm of operating in the national airspace, there are many agencies that just don't understand or haven't had that knowledge and background in aviation. And that's where these two classes really bring it home for anybody that is expanding their UAS program or want to make sure that their agency is following best practices.
So you mentioned a little bit about kind of who is this for. I mean, tell me, dive into that a little bit more. Like, who are these classes designed for, and why is now the right time to consider taking these classes?
Yeah, that's been a hot topic for the fire service robotics working group. Um, you know, everybody who has been building programs for the last 7 years or more have been challenged because there's nothing out there past Part 107. And a lot of folks have operated their programs with, well, either I've got an aviation background and this is the kind of stuff we need to include, or they're just shooting from the hip and they look to other groups like um, LEDA, the Law Enforcement Drone Association, or they look at drone responders and what drone responders has brought to the aviation community specific to UAS. But we don't really have a national standard. And the closest thing we can come to with the national standard for UAS are these courses that were developed by the land management agencies, federal land management agencies, in conjunction with or partnership with the National Wildfire Coordination Group, or NWCG. NWCG sets a lot of standards for things. Some may have forgotten, but the incident command system actually was born from the wildland community, and they work really hard to make sure they get things right. So, why should somebody do this, especially if they're from Louisiana and they might not have wildland fire? I mean, these are NWCG courses. Well, the foundations, the core principles of all these classes relate to everything, whether it's responding to a tornado, a flooding event, a hurricane. All of the specific lessons in each one of these classes can be applied for any emergency response that we operate in. It just so happens that the wildland community was the one that put everything together first. So if you're an agency that really wants to take it to the next level, if you want to be a part of expanding UAS operations at a state level, regional level, or national level, this is the course for you, because we're going to be bringing some of the best together to not only understand what right is supposed to look like, but how can we expand off of what our federal land management partners have developed into what works for us outside of the wildland environment. And it can be as simple as just basic nomenclature. If I'm operating a UAS and I want to turn to the left, through the course, we talk to people about, okay, if I'm just doing a flat spin, turning to the left, I'm yawing to the left. But not everybody uses that type of language. So this standardizes a lot of stuff. Simple things that most people would be like, well, I knew that. But anyways, I think I answered your question.
Yeah, very much so. And you, within that, you you mentioned the term Part 107, and I think for the longest time within drone operations, you sort of heard, "Oh, you got your Part 107, you're good." But kind of like you mentioned, there's all these different terminologies, probably from East Coast to West Coast, just like colloquial speak. Terminology is different. And Part 107 is less of a training, it's more of a certification. And I know there are other private industry players out there providing UAS trainings, but what's making this program different from other UAS trainings out there? And obviously, the obvious is that it's at the NFA for the first time. So, what else? Why is this going to be a unique training opportunity for those interested in expanding their drone operations?
Well, first and foremost, with respect to the National Fire Academy backing of these two classes, this is specifically a train the trainer. And in order to get to this level of being able to provide the train the trainer, we had to do a lot of collaboration with our federal land management partners and the IAFC. Um, uh, in coordination with the National Association of State Foresters, petitioned this interagency fire UAS subcommittee, which really governs all the rules for wildland UAS use, and said, "Hey, we've got to challenge scaling up the UAS programs outside of the federal government, um, and we need your help." But the way aviation works with regards to how long it takes to get from, say, a general aviation pilot to a twin engine commercial pilot is very robust. And the federal land management partners kind of developed a similar mindset for quality control uh, with the instructor requirements. And we worked very, very hard with them, saying, "Hey, look, we need to bring in the best of the best instructors, program managers, program leads, uh, so that we can not only expand this to other agencies across the country, but this group of people that we want to bring to the NFA, they know how to teach, they know how to fly." So our federal land management agency partners made an exception in two ways. The first is they allowed us to expand the class from 16 students to 20, which is a very big deal, because we need to make sure we have a good student to instructor ratio. And then the second area that they worked with us on is the length of time it takes to get qualified as an instructor. Typically, you take the class, then you are one for a while, and then you get to come back as a flight coach, and then you would get to come back as a unit instructor, and then maybe you would get qualified as a lead instructor. And we're condensing all of that down into two classes, pretty much, or uh, two times where you're attending the class. The first one is for the folks that have never experienced this, they go through the class, and then the second one, they're going to go to get qualified as flight coaches and unit instructors. So this is a very unique opportunity that was brought together with some incredible partnership and thought process from agencies like Cal Fire, FDNY, the Federal Land Management Agencies, IAFC, and of course the Fire Service Robotics Work Group.
And in that, I mean, I heard you say train the trainer, and I'm curious about why the focus on train the trainer instead of pilot proficiency and how that's going to help scale UAS capacity and expertise across individual departments and within states and across the fire service.
Yeah, with the train the trainer, we're trying to build quality control for the folks that are going to be teaching classes in the future. We're trying to build a standard that can be utilized across the entire country for folks past Part 107. The FAA did what they needed to do to kind of create a benchmark for UAS operators, but in public safety, it just didn't go far enough, and that's where this class helps. I'm going to be frank though; these two classes, they're not the be all and end all for public safety UAS operations, but it's going to start the conversation for us to develop a standard. Um, that sort of coincides with NFPA 2400. For those that don't know much about NFPA 2400, that is the NFPA standard specific to UAS. But this really goes in depth on that. So, back to the train the trainer, in order for us to scale up this opportunity for folks to be able to teach a material regarding UAS in the same way, we got to start from somewhere. And so we get to do these 3 classes at the National Fire Academy, 3 2-week long classes, um, in order to pull this off and start scaling up at the national level.
So if you are a student attending these classes, what they're going to walk away with, and what are some of the real world applications, and what they're going to attend these classes, they're going to learn, but really, what are they going to walk away with, and what does success look like for these students?
So success for the folks participating in the class is multifold. You know, the nuts and bolts folks are going to receive a certificate of completion from the National Fire Academy. They're also going to receive certificates that are from the National Wildfire Coordination Group. That highlight the training that they did. We're going to be bringing some of the best program managers and program leads together across the country. And as I mentioned earlier, the discussions that happen at the National Fire Academy outside of class are the things that have really made the American Fire Service as awesome as it is today. It's that networking that you don't normally get to do. Um, but again, we're bringing people from all over the country together, so we can expand that knowledge and hopefully build programs that are similar, so that when we show up in those big incidents, those national incidents, whether we're being mutual aided or EMAC from one state to another, everybody's operating the same way. And I think that's the big win with all of this is not everybody's not operating the same way, and it's because nobody's said, "Hey, did you know there's this standard out there?" The other big thing is for agencies that are involved with wildland. Uh, One of the challenges in the wildland community has been access to this training for a whole host of reasons. But um, by the NFA sponsoring this, the agencies that do interface with the Department of the Interior's bureaus, as well as the Forest Service, this will be a springboard for those agencies in the future to be able to work more closely with their federal partners. Whereas now they're not allowed to operate with their federal partners because they haven't had the training and they haven't gone through the task book process. So this really accelerates things for those agencies in a way that they could never do before, uh, albeit without having to spend incredible amount of money bringing in private instructors, to the tune of $35,000 for one class.
Ain't no one got time or money for that.
Yeah, yeah.
And you've mentioned this a few times, but I think one of the most impressive things on the proposal is looking at these logos on there, from FDNY Robotics to Phoenix Fire to Boston Fire, Austin, Pflugerville, IAFC, NIST, your department, Gilbert, and just all these different departments. I mean, how how did this all come together? And I think that, to me, this kind of seeing this vision amongst different partners, and you talked too about the commonality in the language, but if you give a little more context, I'd love to know more about like how all these partners came together, and hopefully, and kind of what you hope to see from this first classes are going to happen, and where you see all these partnerships leading to in the next 1 5 years.
Well, you really hit me over the head with that one. That was like 5 questions wrapped into one. I'll take a stab at it, and then whatever I miss, you can just say, "All right, well, what about that, Jeff?" So, when we look at the totality of this, there's really 3 groups that worked really hard to bring this home. The first we haven't really mentioned too much of, and that's the National Association of State Foresters. They are the group that is kind of like IAFC, but on the state land management fire service side of things. So, National Association of State Foresters and the International Association of Fire Chiefs have been working over the last 7 years to try and bring this to where we are today, and this fall to release this first class. Um, uh, in addition to that, the input that we get from the fire service robotics work group has also played a significant role in shaping some of the conversations and context of what we need to include in the program to make this better. One of the other logos that you see on there is from NIST, the National Institute for Standards and Technology, and they have the robotic test methods that they've developed. Specifically, there's 5 levels for UAS. They have also are going to be a part of this National Fire Academy project, and essentially all of these groups, everybody has the same vision, which is let's figure out a way to professionalize these UAS operators so that the public, other emergency responders, and the manned aviation community don't look at us as, oh, you're just operating a toy. We know you got that at Walmart. It's like, no, we didn't get that at Walmart. Some of the aircraft we're using are $100,000 uncrewed aircraft. They're not toys. So we need to build that professionalism into the program, and all those groups working together, whether they realized it or not over the last 7 years, really brought this project to where it is today. And then, of course, we can't forget to thank the National Fire Academy and the former director of the U.S. Fire Administration, Dr. Lori Merrill Moore, who was the one that really had the big vision of saying, "Hey, we need to do this. Um, this is something that needs to be a priority for the American Fire Service." And through her leadership, and the leadership of Director Gablix from the National Fire Academy, is why this really happened. So there's so many people that came together. And then last but not least, our federal land management partners through the Interagency Fire UAS Subcommittee, uh, they also saw the same thing. The they were able to scale up. Everybody else wasn't. The SLTT, or state, local, tribal, and territories. They didn't have the same advantages that the federal agencies did, and they also recognize, boy, we really need to help bring everybody together to hit a home run. And again, this is why we have this incredible opportunity at the National Fire Academy.
And the third of the question baked in there, and thanks for all the context, is kind of, this is again been many years in the making to get here, but what's your hope and vision of where this program will go over the next 5 years?
Well, I'm hoping that there's going to be a lot more conversations, uh, an opportunity to bring our fire service family together to say, okay, it's time. We need to come together on a standard. Similar to what our law enforcement brothers and sisters have done through the Law Enforcement Drone Association in creating a standard. But on the fire service side, between NFPA and other platforms that we use to set standards, I think we have an incredible opportunity over the next 5 years to really solidify that. And all that's going to do is not make our jobs more complicated, but it's going to make us safer. It's going to help with that, some of those public perceptions of, hey, Big Brother's spying on me. When we show what goes into the training and the record keeping, and the benefits of these platforms and programs, uh, it's a win. The other thing is, we'll start to build better communication pathways amongst the fire service, kind of like what we have with the fire service robotics work group. When somebody identifies a challenge, or they had a win with a particular method or way of developing a 3D mesh of whatever project they're doing, or there's a new search technique that somebody came out with, or when we look at some of the hard work by Rich Gatanis and Fred Carlson from FDNY and Cal Fire, and all those groups that they're just having wins every month. um, get that information out so that other agencies can benefit from that. And again, I think that's why the International Association of Fire Chiefs is so involved with these different committees and groups, so that we can bring all this home to the people that matter the most.
Jeff, to kind of round us out here, some, I guess, brass tacks of this all. Um, what is the application process look like? When is the application due? How, what link to go to? Give me some more specific details on that.
Well, I emailed you the link. Maybe you can magically make it pop up on the screen right here. Um, but we have an online application that is pretty comprehensive. We ask several survey questions in addition to just the basics: what's your name, how long you've been flying. Um, there is a commitment document that needs to be signed, and that's at the request of the National Fire Academy. That's not something that any of us were like, oh, we need to have this. Um, but what it does is it really, I guess, anchors the commitment from the agency and the program participants that, yeah, I'm committed to this. The application is supposed to close on the 7th of July, but I think we're going to push it one more week. Um, and if we do, we'll post something on the webpage where the application process is hosted, so that people know. But overall, the process shouldn't be too terribly challenging. We do want to know some of the background and understanding that people have of the national airspace and aviation. And if you're truly committed and you get through that application, you've got a good shot. So, in addition to the deadline, we have 60 slots that are available for us to train people. So again, it's 3 2-week long classes at the National Fire Academy, and you don't have to go to all three. Um, Basically, if you're for the applicants that are picked for the first class, those are the ones that are going to have the most significant commitment, where they will have to come back a second time. But as I explained earlier, coming back the second time, you're now getting qualified and vetted as a flight coach, as well as a unit instructor, potentially even a lead instructor. Um, the class dates, the first one is in October of this year, 2025. The second one will be in April of 2026. And then the third and final class is going to be probably in the fall of 2026. We haven't picked the date yet, but I don't know. Who knows? I hope Director Gablix isn't listening, but if he likes what he sees, maybe this will be an annual thing at the National Fire Academy. That would be amazing.
I think it's trending in that way. And maybe kind of to close this out, Jeff, I've known you for a couple years now, and I've always been just impressed and inspired by some of your infectious personality in a good way about why you care about the fire service and why you care so much about drones as being a key part of the fire service operations, focus on safety and enhancing operations. And you've used drones in such a wide variety of ways. But this maybe sounds like a basic question, but why do you care so much? What is it about drones and safety of public safety and safety of first responders? Like, what is it about this that has kind of caught your attention and passion so much that has motivated you to take this and run with it to where it is now?
I would say following in the footsteps of others. One of my uncles was responsible for managing the EMS and lifeguard division for the city and county of Honolulu. And a lot of the stuff that I watched as a kid growing up in Hawaii, and what he did with the program or programs was pretty inspiring. And um, a couple of the agencies I worked for in my career, I had some bosses that were not the most inspiring. And I always thought it would be cool to be a part of a process where we could get people excited about something new and different. Uh, in the fire service, is a place for everybody. And when it comes to UAS and aviation, there's so many benefits for us to utilize this tool that most of us haven't even realized yet. I mean, we're learning every day new ways to operate and enhance our operations. And through this technology and through these capabilities, we're able to respond faster. I mean, and really worked for the public in a way in which people would never have imagined 10 years ago. But, throwing some kudos to FDNY and what they did with their Shark Watch program, and then working with a couple of the manufacturers to be able to get inflatables out to folks that are out in the water. I mean, we could never have done that years ago. So to be a part of something that's growing and expanding, it's really exciting. And I'm just honored and humbled to get to work with such an awesome crew of folks and be a part of a couple of these groups where we get to network with people who are doing awesome stuff every day all over the country. I mean, another one, Boston Fire. I mean, you look at what they've been doing, it's amazing. And I mean, gosh, I could say great things about all these agencies, but I do what I do because I'm inspired by all the other folks that I get to network with. Um, my partner in crime with um, the robotics work group, came from Austin Fire, and those guys really, really worked hard to do stuff that at the time nobody else was thinking about, specific to UAS. So that's why I do this.
I love it. Well, I enjoy being a fly on the wall within the working group and seeing all this happen and going to events, whether it's the Texas Robotics Summit or the FDIC event earlier this year or TSI. It's truly just an honor and a pleasure to be a piece of the puzzle and watch it all happen. And I really encourage anyone that is listening to this to apply. If you have that drone itch and you have something that where you're trying to go, if you're trying to level up and go from good to great, this is your opportunity. So make sure to check out all the links in the YouTube posting and connect with Jeff on LinkedIn or email. He's very accessible. And Jeff, just on behalf of IAFC and all these other partners, thank you for your leadership and the work that you're doing. And I'm excited to follow the success of this program now and beyond.
Well, I appreciate those kind words. I'm just the talking head. As I said throughout this whole conversation. There's many people who have really brought this home for everyone in the fire service. So thanks.
Kudos. Right on, Jeff. Thank you. Take care.